Hello and welcome to another Arkeys video and to a new 2 million credit time trial challenge on Gran Turismo 7. This time we are at Autopolis and we are in the 2006 Dodge Viper SRT 10 on sports hard tires. This was supposed to be my 1 hour first impressions run on this one. I had decided to just stop after an hour, but then something happened right at the end of the hour that made me rather annoyed and made me go on for another hour in a bit of a brain melter session on top of that. This is the highlights from my time trial session, and if you are enjoying the content, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. It is highly appreciated. Now let's jump into this one for the first time. And it's Thursday morning. The time trial has been live for around an hour. We're jumping into sport mode. I'm picking up my prize for the previous time trial. And now we are jumping into this one, but we are going to watch a replay before we start. We're also having a look at the power graph on this car. It looks like it needs a bit of short shifting. Don't know exactly where, but we are just trying it out. It's 3 minutes past 9 and here we go, and we miss our braking point. So we are coming into turn 1, our second attempt at turn 1. I will go through the brake markers soon. I will also put in a timestamp for when that happens, but let's just get around this first lap. If I should compare this to the Corvette we had a time trial in recently at Dragon Trail Garden, then I will say that this car feels a lot more stable, especially under braking. You need to brake early, but it's more predictable during braking, doesn't get as twitchy as the Corvette. You still need to be careful on the power, and you can feel it is a big heavy car on slidey tires, but it feels like you can learn to work around it. And this is an 8-liter V10 engine, so you've got plenty of torque, and as mentioned, it looks like it needs a bit of downshifting. At some points on the track you are coming up towards a corner, and then it just makes more sense to just rev it out. And also, if you are on what you believe is a good lap, it also makes sense to rev out the car coming across the line. Just stay in 4th gear, I think it is. But my first lap was a 204.147. Now we are looking at some brake markers. The warning board is the 200 board. You're braking somewhere between that and between that small orange square, and bring the car down to 2nd gear. Later on in this video, towards the end, I will start using 3rd gear for exits on turn 1, but 2nd gear for most part of the video. This is the 100 board. You need to brake short of that to make sure to get the car stopped for the turn 2. And here, roughly use that start of the curb, mostly lift off for this corner. And as I didn't do that, you want to clip both of those apexes on the left hand side. This is roughly where I brake for the hairpin. Not really got a marker for that, but that's roughly where it is. And up to 2nd gear for the exit out of the hairpin. Be careful on the throttle. And now we are looking for the start of the curb, just getting the car tucked in, braking a tiny bit, and just be patient. Wait for that Marshall box to get past the middle of your screen. Carefully get back onto the power without running wide. I got a bit sideways there. And our next marker is dead on the 100 board. That's an easy one. And now we are bringing the car down to 1st gear. I actually got the car slowed down a bit too much there, but 1st gear for rotation, 2nd gear for the exit. That wasn't a brilliant example of how to take that hairpin, but then we've got another 100 board and orange end of the barrier. That is a good marker for this one. I'm staying in 3rd gear. You can use a bit of 2nd, coasting in for a bit of rotation. Both things might work. And I don't really have markers for this, but a general note is just to make sure to constantly be aware of opening up the following corner, so you don't run narrow into an upcoming corner. That is going to cost you so much time and might make you run wide as well. But this is just a tricky sector, and here roughly around the start of that curb, carefully get the car slowed down and make it wander towards the inside. Not really a good job. You've got that tarmac strip on the inside as a good marker for acceleration. Now we are going across the line, and this is going to be a 203.09 9. And then I forget to brake for this corner, so we are parking the car 7 minutes in, just within the gold limit at the moment. And we carry on coming into turn 1, getting the car slowed down to second gear. And if you are using second gear, you really need to be careful on the throttle. Here I'm braking too late, and I ended up going deep into this corner quite a few times, and you are just going to suffer so much on all the following corners because you get your line wrong and have to compensate for that. Also coming a bit slow into the hairpin, you can see it almost feels like I had half a mile around that. It's better to carry a bit more momentum into that. Now this long corner, struggling a bit on the exit, and as we are coming out of the hairpin, we are up to second gear. I do get a little wiggle on, which is going to lose me some time as well. And here I am getting a bit of a narrow entry into this corner. You can see I'm just suffering from understeer as I try to come onto the power. If you can widen the line into that corner a bit, that is better. So a small improvement down to a 202.840. Once again, too greedy into this corner. When will I ever learn? But the hairpin, yeah, same story, a bit too greedy. But yeah, that was a clumsy exit as well. Now we are coming through this section of corners, a slightly better line. Make sure to open up this left-hander, but don't come in too narrow because you also want to open up this right-hander. And just be patient. This is so off-camber and feels weird. Now I can get on the power, then lifting off a bit again. I'm just staying in third gear this time. You can use a bit of second to get the front end rotated in a bit. And yeah, got a bit of a wiggle on, but we are getting a slightly better line through the final corner compared to the previous lap. So despite the mistakes at the hairpin and turn 2, we did improve slightly down to a 202.780, and we keep it going. This is the lap immediately after, coming into turn 1. This was braking a bit too early, and I'm coming in a tiny bit narrow, maybe suffering a bit on the exit. Still up on my time though, and as we're coming out of the hairpin, despite of this not being my best attempt, I am getting the power down better than my previous attempt, and now we are starting to gain. And also through this tricky section of corners, we are keeping some sort of flow. That was a tiny bit deep into that corner, but as we're coming through these two corners where you are very much off camber, I managed to still maintain some speed, lifting off slightly, just trying to get the car tucked in, get back onto the power. And how about the final right-hander, this long right-hander? A bit narrow maybe on the entry, yeah, and you can see the time is going the wrong way now. But now we are back on the power, and we are going across the line in a 202.300. And as we saw on the previous lap, my turn 1 was quite hesitant, so I am going to improve on turn 1 on this lap, but I am going to overshoot turn 2 once again. So we are parking the car. We've been driving for 14 minutes, and so far it's going fairly okay. On the following attempts, we almost get below 202 coming through turn 1. I'm up to third gear, a short shift to third gear this time. Still too greedy into turn 2, and it is just bringing you in a bit too narrow into the upcoming corners. And a sketchy moment here, I am sliding on the curb because I was almost running wide. I am too eager on the exit and just getting a poor exit. You can see the ghost is pulling away, but we still gained in the entire third sector, the tricky sector, and we are towards the end of the lap, coming through the final couple of corners. And we are going across the line in the 202.178. We carry on. I had been falling behind a bit on the following lap, but we are getting a better exit out of the hairpin. So we are starting to gain, and we are staying on board for a bit as we go through sector 3. It's all about maintaining speed and anticipating the upcoming corners. Don't bring the car in too early for this one, because then you will run wide towards the left-hand side, and you want to open up this left-hander, and still be careful because you want to open up this right-hander and it's easy to run wide because of the weird camber on that corner. Be careful on the power because yeah, the car is just moving about in a weird way because of the elevation changes on that part of the track. Bringing the car in at a slightly wide line. This is almost too wide a line, but we are bringing the car in towards that tarmac strip, getting back onto the power. And at least compared to the previous lap, we are starting to gain a bit of time again. We are almost breaking into the 202s, and now we've been driving for 25 minutes. So let's just quickly get back in on the lap immediately after we went out to have a look just before. We are going to get out of the 202s. We are towards the end of the lap now. We are carefully going through the final corner, slightly widening the line a bit, bringing the car back in up to third gear. Be careful on the power until you feel safe to get completely on it, and we are across the line in a 201.825. And I completely forget to brake for turn 1, so we are on purpose, of course, parking the car. We've been driving 30 minutes now, and we are in the 201s. Then we improved a bit more despite some mistakes. For example, like this one, coming in way too deep into turn 2 for God knows which time, and overshooting the hairpin as well. So that is all costing me some time. But still, we gained through sector 3, and we are trying to get a fairly clean run through the final couple of corners. Be careful on that left-hand side curve, you can slide around. We are down to a 201.701, and then I just binned it at turn 1. That was 46 minutes of driving, and we are still going to improve a bit more. We are down to a 201.650, and this is where my mood changed. This is the last lap within the first hour, and this was actually going pretty well. We are coming out of turn 1, still using second gear. It is a bit sketchy, and not overshooting turn 2 this time, finally. So we can open up this corner a bit and clip this apex and this curb as well. And now coming into the hairpin, want to carry in a bit momentum so you can make the car rotate, and then carefully back onto the power, out of there as straight as possible, looking for the start of the curb, just letting the car coast towards the inside, a tiny bit of braking, get back onto the power as you pass the Marshall box. And now we're coming into the hairpin. We are all the way down to first gear just for rotating the car, back up to second, a bit sideways there. That was losing me a tiny bit of time, but you can see at the sector time this is looking fairly decent, and we are up for a good improvement now, and we are making our way through sector 3, bringing the car in towards the curb, and making sure to open up this corner as well. Now get the car slowed down, brake fairly early, widen the line a bit so you can straight line it out of here and get back onto the power. And just using a bit of second gear for rotation, and look at the delta. This was going to be a sub 201 if it wasn't for me messing up. Now I'm coming into the final corners too narrow, and I'm getting a poor exit. I'm trying to floor it, and I go all sideways and lost a lot of time. So this is a 201.311, and I am angrily parking the car in the wall. This could have been a sub 201 within my first hour of time trialing, but instead this spiraled into another hour of me angrily trying to improve because I knew I could do it. I've already been driving for another 45 minutes, and this is exactly one slightly aggravated hour after I did that big mistake on my best lap within the first hour. This is the final lap of the video, and we are going to stay on board. No interruptions of this lap. Braking for turn 1 between the 200 and that orange square, and now exiting in third gear. It is more stable, and you cut out a rather slow gear shift from second to third. Braking just before the 100 board for turn 2. That is cutting a bit too much, but we managed to keep it alive. Just clip this inside curb and this one as well. As soon as the car straightens up, get onto the brakes, down to first gear, up to second, but be patient on the throttle. Make sure to bring the nose towards the inside of that hairpin so you can straight line the exit. We are braking a tiny bit just to make sure the car doesn't skid wide, and yeah, we are getting close to the edge of the track there, but we managed to keep it together. Braking straight at the 100 board for the hairpin, and now I'm cutting too much of the inside. That is going to slow me down, and you can see it's instantly costing me some time on the exit. So there are still mistakes on this lap, and I might be able to improve it. But first I will jump onto one of the other accounts to see if I can just match this time to begin with before I go full brain melter mode. Now for the final couple of corners in this tricky part, just really trying to be calm and really trying to keep my trigger happy right index finger, not pushing in the throttle too abruptly, because it's so easy to push this heavy car offline if you're not being very patient with that. Now for the final corner, using second gear just to keep the car tucked in, up to third gear, carefully getting back onto the power, and got a bit of a slide on that inside. Be careful with that, but we are across the line in a 2:09.73, and I'm instantly parking the car because I need a break from this one now. This was supposed to be just a 1 hour first impressions, but then I got annoyed with myself and had to do what I nearly did within that first hour. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it entertaining, maybe even somewhat useful. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye bye.